Hello and welcome back to Hungry Talks episode 6. I'm your host Anna.
And I'm your other host, Asha. And before we start tonight's episode, RMIT and Hungry Talks want to acknowledge the people of the Woiwurrung and Boonwurrung language groups of the Eastern Kulin Nation on whose unceded lands we conduct the business of the university.
RMIT University respectfully acknowledges the people.
There we go. Hello everyone and welcome to our 5th episode of DMs with Dim and Maddie. I'm Dim.
And I'm Maddie, and today we're going to have a chat with Charlotte Dicker. Charlotte graduated from RMIT's advertising degree in 2015 and has had an extensive career in multiple avenues in copywriting, art direction, event management and social media. So hi Charlotte.
Hi everyone, thanks for having me.
Now before we get started, how about you just tell us a bit about yourself and what your position and your journey to getting to where you are now.
Oh my gosh. So to preface it, I'm 29, so I started my sort of introduction to advertising close to almost 9-10 years ago now. And when I first started, it was doing all of the odd jobs. So I was an interior stylist because I knew that I wanted to be creative. I ended up getting a gig at Isabar as one of the social media community managers, the absolute low-hanging fruit, the dregs of social media. But I was put on the night owl shift for Kmart, and so just had this whirlwind of experience and real insight into what social media actually is. And I would say if you do want to get into social media, always start in community management because you learn the back end of everything. And at the same time, I was just doing a lot of freelancing. So I would take any and every job, paid and unpaid. But from that, I ended up starting an agency with one of my freelance clients from there, which sort of took me on a roller coaster of a role and starting an agency and working in startup for 4 years. I then moved to Publicis because I knew that startup land just was getting too hard. It's really hard, but it's really exciting and fun. You're sort of the jack of all trades. So moved to Publicis in their content team in 2019. I knew that I wanted big brands, big budgets, and it was one of the better decisions I think I've ever made for my career because you sort of get exposed to the planning and structure and the foundations that you actually need for social. And then after the pandemic, everyone was doing it. The Great Resignation was happening, and I decided I wanted to give Brandside a go. So I actually had a recruiter come to me, of all people, for Indota Spa, and they offered me a very similar role that I was doing at Publicis. I loved Publicis. I desperately didn't want to leave. I had the best team. I had really great clients. But, you always think the grass is greener. So took the role and have now been at Indota Spa as their social media manager for the past 6 months. So that's
Awesome.
that's my career in like 2 minutes. But yeah.
So let's get started with some rapid questions inspired by Vogue 73 questions. So we'll start. Favourite social media app?
Has to be TikTok.
Yeah. Summer or winter?
I'm a summer child.
Yeah. Favourite clothing item?
Oh God. Fuck. This is meant to be quick, isn't it? Sneakers.
Sleep in or wake up early? Sometimes that's not really a choice.
Yeah. No, I'm a big sleeper-inner.
Yeah.
I'm a night owl. Yeah.
Yeah. Breakfast, lunch or dinner if you could choose?
Yeah. Again, really hard one, but it'd have to be dinner.
Yeah. Favourite TV show? Can be at the moment or
yeah.
just all
I
time.
love Yellowstone.
Yeah. And favourite film genre?
Are you kidding? It's funny because I majored in film.
Oh, so did I, yeah.
I don't think I have one.
All the film teachers are like...
Yeah, all the film teachers are sitting there being like, what did we teach you?
Or favourite film at the moment?
Maybe like sci-fi. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
sci-fi's
I actually like a bit of sci-fi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back onto some career-based questions. As social media manager at Endota Spa, what strategies do you use when it comes to scheduling of posts and the type of posts that go out? You know.
Yeah, interesting one. Strategies. Social media is kind of a behemoth, so you have to look at it from all angles. And I think, you know, a lot of people think that social media is create a post, looks kind of like the brand, put it up, it's all done. But there's actually a lot more work that goes into the back of it, and it really does come back to some of those core advertising principles that you learn in uni, and you're like, I'm never gonna use this. But if you don't use it, your posts won't perform. And when you're working for big brands, or when you're working for your own brand, you still are beholden to engagement metrics, to your community, to what your community expects of you. So I think the biggest strategy to begin with any social media is having a really keen understanding in the psychology of your consumer, what they expect, and what your platform and or platforms offer them.
How has the landscape of social media advertising changed, and do you see it evolving?
I laughed when I saw this question. Sorry, these guys gave me pre-questions. Am I allowed to tell them
Spoiler.
that? Yes,
Spoiler alert, yeah.
So when I was sitting in the third year of my degree, my lecturer said, download Twitter. It's going to be big. Yeah. So has it changed? Yes. I started my career, social media manager was not a job. Social media wasn't a job. We would do, like, you know, I was doing community management for Kmart, but they were at the very front of, we're going to put stuff on this platform and we're going to, you know, create awareness and all this stuff. So a lot of my career has been, you know, taking some of the foundations that I've learnt at uni. Don't get me wrong, but as I said, I'm on the phone to, you know, all of the platforms. I'm listening to podcasts. I'm doing as much as possible because it's changing every day.
Yeah.
Back in 2016, you know, brands were sitting there and they were utilising social media as more of a brand awareness tool. So you could put out a pretty picture and all of a sudden go viral. Nowadays, social is a pay-to-play platform. So you can't do anything organically anymore. The algorithms just won't work for you. TikTok, maybe back in like 2020, 2021, you would have been able to do a lot of brand work there and get that awareness piece. But the whole landscape of media on the platforms has changed. For the future, I think the biggest piece is AI. So by 2028, they say that AI is going to be smarter than any human in the entire world. I mean, even now you kind of look at it and you're like, they're pretty smart. Like, you go onto anyone's TikTok algorithm and you don't understand it because AI has specifically curated that algorithm for you. And so I think if you don't have a keen understanding of that to come, and the fact that you know, it's not going to be one post wonders anymore. It's going to be more about, you know, curating 75 posts about one product and then letting the AI actually serve it out to the right people so you get the traction. That's kind of where we're moving to at the moment.
So that ends episode 5 of DMs with Dim and Maddie. Thank you so much, Charlotte, for joining us.
No, thank you for having me. It's been great.
All right, random. We're just changing up the order a bit this week, you know.
Bit of a technical
keeping you on your toes.
difficulty.
We got some news that, you know, we had to change it up. Anyway, we do want to just start again and acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, the Woiwurrung and Boonwurrung language groups of the Eastern Kulin Nation, whose unceded land we conduct the business of the university.
RMIT and Hungry Talks respectfully acknowledges their ancestors and elders past, present and emerging.
Now, we're going to go straight into our interview this week. We're having a closer look at advertising for good. So many of us have probably experienced some dirty looks when we say we're studying advertising. So we're talking all things ethical advertising this week. Introducing Jo Wade, who is all the way in London and has ever so gratefully joined us early in the morning and sat through some technical difficulties there. Jo is a speaker, writer, sometimes satirist, and the CEO and co-founder of London-based agency Don't Panic. So, Don't Panic are a social purpose agency which has won pretty much every advertising award ever. They work with brands to create positive change, helping the advertising industry become a force for good. They've worked with Save the Children, UNICEF, Greenpeace, NSPCC, WaterAid, YouTube and Netflix, just to name a few. Jo has also won a BAFTA, the British equivalent of a Logie or an Emmy, for the BBC show The Revolution Will Be Televised. Please welcome to the show, Jo Wade.
Woo! Hi, Jo.
Hello.
Hi. I can hear you now. It's quite faint.
Oh, can you hear us?
Are we?
Oh, I can. Yeah, that's not too bad.
Okay,
great. Bloody hell, no more technical difficulties, please.
Oh, beautiful. Well, Jo, you've come from studying a history degree to being the founder of your own company. Can you tell us a bit about your journey?
Well, I guess we've always been, I've always been motivated by doing something with some kind of, I guess, higher purpose, to sound pretentious, but with some kind of political meaning as well. So we started off, and this is you guys are going to be way too young to remember this, but before there used to be these things called flyer packs, which were like, they would be handed out outside nightclubs and events, and they would have flyers for parties and gigs, and then they'd also have stuff for PlayStation or games, and we would put condoms in them and lighters and that kind of thing. So it's quite a hedonistic, fun thing to hand out. But then we started to put in a poster, and the poster that we would put in to those packs was always about a cause or an issue, and to stop it being boring and to make it the kind of thing people would put on their walls. In the early days, Banksy would do them. So Banksy did a couple of the early ones, and then we did Shepard Fairey, and we had lots of good artists doing them. And then from then on, I suppose when we started to go more into YouTube and start to make viral, because your previous speaker was talking about how you used to be able to make things go viral. I think you still can in a way, but it's, as she was saying, it's a lot more restricted. So we used to make a lot of, after doing those packs, which were obviously printed, we used to make YouTube films that were again cause related, and because we had no money for production and we had no media spend, we had to make them really shareable, and we had to also make them PRable, so we were always interested in getting press. So we and that's how we started as an agency, was doing these films that would be about, either they would be targeting companies like big tech companies, or they target politicians, and then but we made them pranky, sort of like a sort of Sacha Baron Cohen, or I think, or those kind of pranky aspects, to make sure that people would share them, and then that people would write about them as well. So that's kind of, I suppose it went from printed stuff with the posters into these kind of YouTube videos, and from there we started to work for clients, basically.
Cool.
Yeah, interesting.
Love the prank aspect of it. It's a good idea for little budget, get things around.
Yeah, definitely. Don't Panic is focused on helping brands and non-profit clients make a positive change in the world. How do you choose which brands to work with? And do you ever have to pitch to win an account, or do brands just come to you specifically?
We nearly always have to pitch, yeah. So I think, and we tend to work with either charities, or we work with then I guess this is how our kind of commercial clients break down. Is we have either clients who are completely purposeful in what they're doing, so that tends to be kind of more startup level sort of businesses where they might be new tech companies, or they might be something like fintech is quite a good example. So we have a client called Cushion, and that is a net zero pension fund. So those kind of businesses, they have a sort of social purpose at their heart. The other kind of companies we work with are ones who are bigger companies such as Uber, and we work to promote their kind of purposeful aspects. And in that case, pardon me, they work a lot on, for example, women's safety. So we would help them on campaigns around that. So I suppose either we work for these startups, or we work for big businesses and we do their kind of social purpose aspect. That's generally how it breaks down.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds really great to be able to like bring the social purpose aspect to the big brands that I suppose sometimes might not get all the good press. Yeah, and I suppose bringing the good light to them. So you described Don't Panic as working on more of a human basis. How do you maintain this human empathy while also sticking to the facts?
Well, I think what we tend to do, and I guess this is not uncommon, is bringing, you obviously what you're doing is underpinned by the facts, but particularly charities probably maybe put a bit too much emphasis on facts, and what we try to do is help them bring out the kind of emotional aspects of their work, but in quite a singular way. So I think one of the issues is almost trying to simplify their message and simplify what they're trying to say, and then we can imbue it with emotion. I think that and this is why I guess agencies are vital for companies, but also for charities, because I guess as an outsider you can come in and sort of have more of a view as to how the public might view these issues, and so there's that, and then you can help them kind of define what the most powerful aspects of what they're doing are, and I think and the same applies to big businesses as well, is that trying let's not kind of try and tell people everything with this one campaign. Let's just kind of intrigue people enough to want to find out more. That's kind of how we recommend approaching it.
Yeah, cool. There's normally so many great facts about all the brands, so just finding that one and making it work, I suppose, is the way to go.
Yeah.
So saying you work in the advertising industry can occasionally get you some dirty looks, implying that we've sold our soul to the capitalist agenda. However, you've created a lot of work that brings real benefit to the world. Do you have any advice, or what advice would you give to someone who wants to get into the advertising industry but doesn't want to give up those kind of core values that they have?
Well, I think I would say that nowadays, I think in the past people would think that ethics and advertising, don't belong together at all. But I think now it's much more common that in briefs, and you see there's a lot more talk about ethics and social purpose and that sort of thing. So I think I don't think it would be challenging, and in fact I feel that it might be intriguing and interesting for if you were looking for a job and that you did have a sort of a viewpoint on issues, or you had, for example, your own following on social media around a certain issue, or you'd campaigned or you'd volunteered for an organization, and maybe it doesn't have to be overtly political, but perhaps you had done some volunteering in a certain sector, like for example homeless people or people who were needed some sort of help. So I think that from our perspective, that's, as an employer, that would be interesting and intriguing and make us kind of, I think it would be an appealing thing for us to see on somebody's CV. But I think, so I don't think it's the challenge it used to be. I mean, it would be a challenge in a bigger, let's say you went to a huge agency and you spent your days working on vaping, gambling, and airlines, for example. You would struggle from an ethical point of view. And but I think, I think things like gambling, it's quite difficult to justify, from an ethical standpoint. A lot of, agencies have gambling clients, but I don't know how they justify it. But we don't have that sort of problem. So I think if you were an individual who felt like something like gambling was problematic, you just have to stay away from people who had a lot of those sorts of clients, I guess, those sorts of agents. You wouldn't be able to work at those agencies, I guess.
Yeah, so just kind of avoiding it altogether. I do have a bit of a tactic when I get dirty looks for saying that I'm studying advertising. I kind of just tell them about Don't Panic, which is a bit like, I tell them all the great work. I'm like, yeah, see, this is like a dream agency. They do great stuff. They don't all do horrible things. Is my kind of like,
go-to.
Yeah, bit of my go-to.
Yeah, we both really admire your work. Just
Well, thanks. Yeah. I mean, I guess we don't have too many problems because the sort of people who approach us, and generally speaking, we have that sort of, all of our clients are basically fairly. Yeah, they're all good guys, and so we've never really had those kind of ethical struggles, which is good, a good position to be in, and so I think we don't feel too bad about what we're doing. In fact, we're usually feeling quite good about it, which is, I think, as climate change gets worse and there are more and more issues facing the world, I think agencies should begin to wonder or start to think about, is this a good thing to be putting out in the world, or am I part of the problem?
Yeah, I really like that. Yeah. Well, changing it up just a little bit, we'd like to take a look at the work that you did for Greenpeace.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have a look.
Let's take a look.
Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of a team. Everything is awesome when you're living on a dream. Everything is better when we stick together. Side by side, you and I gonna win forever. Let's party forever. We're the same, I'm like you, you're like me. We're all working in harmony. Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of a team. Everything is awesome when you're living on a dream. Everything is awesome when you're living on a dream.
So, for those of you who are unaware, LEGO used to have a partnership with Shell. This campaign here highlighted to LEGO the damage this was causing and was ultimately successful in getting LEGO to end their partnership with Shell. I remember coming across this piece a few years ago, I think it was, or maybe, no, last year, on some research, and it just, I don't know, it just really stuck with me. So Joe, did Greenpeace approach you for this piece? And then what was Lego's initial response after it was released?
Well, yes, Greenpeace did approach us, and then and then there was a pitch, and we won the pitch, and then I guess the partnership between Lego and Shell had been going on for 60 years, and it was a divestment campaign. So the idea was to drive a wedge between them, and I suppose that was the kind of the primary objective, I guess you would say. But the secondary objective was to just raise awareness of climate change, and it was also, I guess, the other objective was to sort of talk about drilling in the Arctic. So it had kind of like Lego was seen as a kind of way into those broader issues. So that's the way Greenpeace kind of often work as well. So they've done things about Barbie and Mattel, and like the way that's the sort of plastics that are used in that. And I think if you do those kind of brand attack type of campaigns, you are attacking that individual business, but then there is a kind of halo impact on people's knowledge of the issue as a whole. But I think with Greenpeace and Shell, and then Lego, you had this kind of, it was a really good target that they came up with, because Lego's a really loved brand, and they were quite concerned about being tarred with the same brush as Shell, and so they did leave. It was successful because they did drop the partnership. We also used the song from the film Everything Is Awesome, and that was quite good as well, because that was used without permission, and then at one point Warner Brothers took it off, got YouTube to take it down, but then that created more publicity, so then they ended up putting it back up, and then all of those things combined and led to it being really high profile, and that Lego did ultimately drop the partnership. But I think what is at the heart of that, and what made it successful, was the film was really good. There was even though it's a kind of diorama, because we couldn't, on that sort of budget, we weren't able to animate anything, and obviously, and certainly not to the standard of the film, the Lego film. So I think doing it as a kind of diorama, where the only thing that moves is the oil that's being, pumped into the scene, and gradually, the characters are submerged. That, and then, we almost went a bit wild in terms of the semi-ironically with like Father Christmas and stuff. And then what you might not realise, which did really help with earning media, and again, I do agree with the previous speaker about how it's difficult to get earned reach. But sorry, I'll shut up in a minute. I realise I'm kind of rambling. But the other thing is, we put in, at that point, Game of Thrones was really popular, so we had Jon Snow in there from Game of Thrones. We also had Halo, the character Master Chief from Halo, and by putting in those kind of like cultural touch points, we were then able to go out to all the Game of Thrones fan sites and go, look, Jon Snow's in it. And then they, like, about 7 or 8 Game of Thrones fan sites and forums posted it. So that really led to it getting a lot more earned reach, and it also enabled us to, beyond the earned reach, it enabled us to kind of get a new audience interested in climate change, because all these Game of Thrones fans were like, oh, what's this about? And then you just had the Lego. There's a big Lego community as well online. So yeah, all of those things combined to make it really successful. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the imagery with that one. I think it's really effective. So changing the subject a little bit, you've said that a big part of what Don't Panic does really well is preaching to the unconverted. Could you unpack this one for us a bit?
Well, I mean, I think a good example is probably what I just mentioned, which was the Game of Thrones fans or Halo fans being kind of like inducted into sort of knowing a bit more about climate change through the film, and so we kind of approached them through the kind of sites where they would go anyway. For example, again, you know, fan sites. And then we used characters that they were familiar with, so in a kind of like Easter egg sort of way. So that was one way of doing that. I think another way is we often talk about reframing issues, and so I suppose when we're trying to reframe an issue, we are looking at it from a strategic point of view with how can we interest new audiences in this, because these issues aren't new, so this issue's been around for a long time. How are we going to get new people interested, and how are we going to get older audiences who have maybe grown bored of this issue into it again? And often I think you need to kind of that's kind of maybe what informs your strategy. But when it comes to, you know, executing creative, I think you need to be considering how can we use humor, or how can we make this entertaining, or are there interesting ways to engage, you know? And then we have a kind of engagement process where we have all these boxes to tick, essentially, like is there any kind of news hook that's coming out? So if it's coming out in September, what's going on in September where we can kind of jump onto that conversation in a good way with this idea? So is there something we can do with that? Or if there's nothing going on in that month, can we move the date it's launched to when there's something more going on that we can kind of get involved with? And to give you one more example, so we did this big campaign for WaterAid, and we realized it was coming out in February. In February, there were going to be this is in 2020, 4 Mars landings. So it informed an idea where we decided to make it's an animation, and it was about a young girl in Madagascar who asked the question, why are we going to Mars to look for water where we don't have water here on Earth? And so that kind of informed the whole idea. So she tries to build a rocket to go to Mars to get water, and but the reason that made that really engaging was then WaterAid could get on the news. They could join the conversation around all these Mars launches, and so I think, you know, there's a kind of engagement process which enables us to do this reframing that then in turn enables us to get new audiences interested in issues and brands.
I remember seeing that WaterAid one, but obviously it was at a different time to all the Mars, like the landings, and it was still so powerful without that. So I suppose, yeah, all the news hype around those kind of things would just really enhance it as well. And just, yeah, linking pop culture is so important to what we're doing as well.
Yeah,
so it's a very smart way to go about it. Anyway, now we're going to take a quick look at a little snippet from one of the episodes of The Revolution Will Be Televised. So this is the BBC show Joe was a writer for. We'll take a look and then come back.
Guys, we're just connected with GBF NYC. Hello, mate. Do you have a second for GBF NYC?
We're taking money from Lloyd's employees today.
Have you got a second? Do you work for RBS? Do you work for Lloyd's or?
Hi there, do you work for RBS? We're targeting RBS employees today. It's a new campaign called GBF NYC. Give us back our fucking money, you cunts. It's a great campaign. It's give us back our fucking money, you cunts.
We had to bail you bastards out. You wanker.
Fuck.
You wanker.
Give me back our fucking money, you cunts.
Are you serious? Yeah. It's going back to the taxpayer, see.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
Were you one of the guys who did really well or was rewarded for failure? Which one was that? Do you work for Lloyd's? I might just give you one of these stickers. It says, I fucked the economy.
So
good.
I love it. Actually, it's so
Last
good.
night we were like, we're gonna get an early night's sleep, and they're like, no, we'll just watch
We
one more
watched
episode.
3 episodes of The Revolution Will Be Televised.
Back to back.
So good.
So good.
So yeah, you were a co-creator and a writer for this TV show, The Revolution Will Be Televised, and while it's hilarious, it's also really informative. So how do you think the media is evolving to change the way people think? And how powerful or important is creativity in helping to shed light and engage people in social and political issues?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's what I've always tried to do through the posters and then YouTube and then the show, and I think it's it comes back to trying to not hit people over the head with an issue, but instead try to make it entertaining and funny and surprising, and then through that sort of through the entertainment value it has, they may learn a bit more about an issue and then want to find out more. So I think that's what, and I feel like whatever the platform is, it making something entertaining and shareable will always come out. Obviously, there's different ways it has to be formulated for, say, TikTok to Twitter. But I mean, we last week we did because we were you may know that Boris Johnson was out, and the Conservatives were trying to select a new leader, and then we did a campaign to make Larry the cat, who is the cat that lives at number 10 Downing Street, the Prime Minister. And so the campaign for Larry, why don't we have him, because he's just as good as the other two, and that was interesting for us, because we did some fly posters, so kind of like small kind of guerrilla like posters, but we also did some billboards, and we didn't do very many, but then they did. And what I'd kind of like, you think Twitter's a bit sort of yesterday's news, but then they went really viral on Twitter. And then what we realized was that all journalists are on Twitter, so then it got it got tons of coverage in basically every newspaper in the UK. It went in the New York Times as well, and then you realize that actually, not only did we realize, we've probably been overlooking Twitter to a certain degree in terms of the opinion forming audience, but it speaks to your point, which is having something that's funny, interesting, kind of, but makes a good point, will do well no matter what the platform is. And so we could have, but that idea probably didn't do anything on TikTok. So we would, if we had been interested in making it kind of like multi-platform, we would have had to take that core creative idea and reformulate it a bit for TikTok, and probably we could have done that. And so I think as a sort of, because I find it quite unnerving, when people do start talking about AI, and there's lots of, this is the way it's going to have to be. But I think I also find it reassuring that at the centre, you still need a really strong creative thought, and then you really need a sort of interesting and entertaining execution of it. And if you have that as your kind of, as an agency or an advertising creative, that's what your job is to create. And then whatever's going on in terms of different platforms and different technologies, hopefully it's going to be informed by what you've come up with. So I think that and what that should, in my opinion, as long as that's really strong, it can have the ability to change people's minds, and it can have people to, ability to make people think again. It can also make people who are sympathetic to what you're doing get back into it as well. So it comes back to that reframing. So I don't even know if I'm answering the right question anymore. I've just been,
That's great.
Yeah.
I loved the whole cat thing. I was having a look at it yesterday. I'm the avid crazy cat lady, as a lot of people know.
Big fan of cats. I'm more of a dog person, personally.
Yeah,
Ash is more of a cat girl.
The cat thing was quite funny to me.
Yeah.
So The Revolution Will Be Televised was obviously incredibly successful, winning you the BAFTA. However, it's rare that political TV can be so popular with young people. Did you write the show with a younger audience in mind, or was it targeting a different demographic, or was there a specific audience?
It was. It was for younger people, yeah, because it went on to BBC Three, and BBC Three's audience is younger.
Okay.
And I guess our kind of mission was to take politics that was potentially a bit, slightly, the way it packaged up is generally quite boring. And I mean, I find it interesting, but I think, and that's what, our mission, I guess, was to, interest new audiences in politics, and so not only do a stunt that would be funny and would, it was also, there was animations which kind of explain the issue, because if you, that was the idea. You had an animation that explained the issue, and then the stunt was kind of like the punchline.
Yeah, it was good. It kind of simplified it and made it make sense to me, and I'm kind of, politics goes over my head a bit sometimes, so
Yeah,
it was
true.
great. Anyway, in your own words, you say that you make ads that people actually want to watch and share, which every creative aspires to do. This can often be quite challenging. Do you have one singular piece of advice? I know you've touched on a few things, but one kind of singular piece of advice for young creatives who are just entering the industry now?
Well, I think try to do something that feels a bit like it's gonna be quite scary for the clients. And I think we tend to think, if you've got a really strong strategic foundation, you can then have creative ideas which are quite daring. Because I think all of this kind of people sharing ads and people being entertained by ads won't work if it's very safe. So I know it sounds it's not exactly a new idea, but what I think you need to do is have something which don't self-censor, put ideas in that you think the client probably won't go for, but then have a sort of strong strategy and a clear rationale as to why it's a good idea. And if you can achieve that, and that's the kind of idea that I think has the capacity to be shared loads. And I think what you need to avoid is you feeling a bit comfortable with the idea, and all of the clients going, "Oh yeah, that's a nice idea. That might work." You don't really want that kind of reaction. You want some of the clients in the room, I think, to be worried about the idea, rather than you definitely don't want everybody feeling comfortable with it. So I think having that creative risk is probably what I'd say to aim for.
Perfect. Yeah, I like it. Isn't not a quote about art? It's like art strives to make people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I picked that up in my Year 12 art, so I'm kind of an expert.
She studied art.
Joe, you've mentioned that the name for Don't Panic came from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. For the last question of our interview, what is the meaning of life?
Well, according to that, it's 42, isn't it? I
think. Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
Exactly. From memory, I think the question to the meaning of life is like 7 times 6.
Yeah.
I think. Anyway.
All very confusing. Anyway, now to wrap up the interview, we are going to test our British guests' knowledge of Aussie icons in a game we like to call Aussie Celebrity or Average Joe. Joe, we're going to show you a couple pictures, and all you need to do is guess whether they're an Aussie celebrity or a regular Joe working in the advertising industry. If you want to give us a brief description of what you think they'd do for extra points, but yeah, we can whiz through these.
Okay.
This game idea is actually courtesy of our good friend Frooms, who just might be featuring on the show sometime soon.
Spoiler alert. Anyway, for everyone playing along at home, jump over to the Hungry Talks Instagram, hungry_talks. Might be a bit easy for you guys, but yeah, let's get into
True
it.
Blue Aussies, they know.
So question 1's always a super easy one. So when she comes up, is this darling an Aussie celebrity or an
I
executive.
think it's a celebrity.
Yeah. Do you know who she is?
It's Kylie, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
An
exactly.
older picture, although, you know,
She's got the
Yeah, it's hard to
KM on her
say.
earrings. We thought, you know, make it super
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah. We love her. She's a legend. So number 2, is this gentleman an Australian icon or is he an ad genius?
well, he looks like a sort of failed MasterChef candidate, but or somebody who got disgraced themselves on Big Brother.
Incorrect. That's actually our mentor and tutor for the subject we're doing, the one and only John Dingledye. He's a champion.
okay.
Ad legend.
Yeah. Well, we reckon.
We reckon he's-
Yeah, I think he's an ad legend. So how about this, babe? Is he an Australian icon or is he an average Joe?
Well, I'd say he's both, but it's obviously Jason Donovan, yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. We put it in, we're like,
Oh, I was worried about this one. All right,
I love
legend.
Neighbours
Why?
over there. You guys love Neighbours, don't you? Isn't
Well,
it quite
it's
big?
off now, isn't it? It's over, but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
When I think of Neighbours, I feel it reminds me of being off school sick. So I have this Pavlovian response of feeling ill every time
A bit sick when you see his face.
A bit nauseous.
Yeah.
I'm
Fair
thinking
enough.
of Aaron Bishop. Yeah.
Next up, question 4. Is this dude an ad executive or Aussie icon?
I think he looks like someone who was on Australia's Got Talent with a kind of a talking dog or something.
He's very talented, but definitely not for a talking dog. So this is Adam Goods. He played 372 games for the Sydney Swans, which is an AFL team in New South Wales. He was a 4-time All-Australian, 2-time Brownlow medalist, and was named Australian of the Year in 2014.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a bit of a
I
champion.
have been to a Sydney Swans game once.
Yeah.
Oh, did you? Oh, no
Uh,
way.
He's great. He was a really great footballer, but unfortunately, a lot of racism was put his way.
Projected
and he ended
onto
up,
him, yeah.
It was really
Oh,
sad
yeah.
end to
It
his
was
career,
unfortunate.
but yeah, big legend icon. Question 5: is this girlie here an Aussie icon or ad genius?
I'd say ad genius.
No. So this one is Bindi Irwin. She is the daughter of the famous Australian zookeeper and wildlife expert Steve Irwin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's Steve
Yeah.
Irwin's daughter.
And Steve Irwin's son, he's still wrangling
yeah,
animals.
At the crocodile enclosure.
Steve Owen? Steve
Robert
Owen
Owen.
passed. Oh, I
His-
thought
his son.
sorry, I
His
think you
son,
said Steve
Robert
Owen. I was like, oh, unfortunately, I've got some
Sorry.
bad
No,
news
no,
for you.
that was, Stingray attack.
Yeah, you're all over it.
So the next question, question 6. Is this Selfie King? Is he an Australian legend or average Joe working in the strategy department?
It's an Aussie legend.
He is indeed an Aussie legend. That is Chris Lilly. He's an
Yep.
Australian actor, writer and comedian known for his shows Summer Heights High and Jemay. I am a big fan of Chris Lilly. I've got a mug with, I've got my Jemay
on
mug.
it. It's a little bit controversial.
It's
but
quite
alright.
funny. I don't know if it would air now.
I loved it. And then I suppose then later on everyone kind of looked at it again and thought the Jonah character was problematic.
Yeah, it's a bit problematic.
yeah, it is a
There
bit.
was a little
but-
bit of, I think there was a bit of brown face in one of them, which was
Yeah, the
definitely
Jonah, I think.
not
Oh,
on.
anyway. Jemay was really funny though.
Jemay was
As
good.
a private schoolgirl, I resonated. It was quite funny.
But I liked the Mr. G character.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, he was
Mr. G was great.
Yeah,
They do the song about the overdose. and
Yeah.
stuff,
Ecstasy.
which-
He's so good.
Well,
I had a teacher that was kind of like nearly on that level at one stage in high school.
Yeah,
Funny
it's
to me.
funny. It's funny.
Question 7.
Right. So yeah, question 7. Is this lady an Australian icon or a copywriting legend?
I'd say copywriting legend.
She is indeed a copywriting legend. This is Amelia. She is part of our Hungry Talks team. She's a mother of 3 and she's a very skilled copywriter.
Question 8.
What?
Is this snazzy Photoshop king an Aussie icon or ad legend?
He looks like an ad legend.
Yeah, so that one's Dim. He's very skilled on the Photoshop, clearly. He's also part of our Hungry Talks team and skilled copywriter.
Yeah, we love him.
Good old Dim. Aussie icon or average Joe?
Well, again, probably both in a way, isn't it? I remember.
Have you seen the video?
Lads had the party at
Yeah.
the parents' house and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say sorry, but I'm not taking off my glasses.
Corey
He's so
Worthington.
funny.
Yeah.
I love him. I
Project
love him.
X had the interview with Kind of Fair. It's so funny.
So great.
I love that.
Question 10. So this barbecue man, is he an Australian icon or is he a creative director?
It's Kath and Kim,
Yes!
isn't it? So, Kel.
Cal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cal Knight.
The actor's name is Glenn Robbins, and he's the husband of Kath.
Yeah.
There's a really funny episode where she does a kind of changing rooms thing on his grandma's prize table. I don't know if you've seen it. It sounds.
That was
It
not
rings a
ringing a
bell. Oh, I actually think I have seen that, but the whole thing
it's
is
awesome.
spectacular. I want to rewatch it.
I dressed up
actually.
as Kath and Kim for a dress-up party a few weeks
We
ago.
should do that. We should. Anyway.
Later.
All right. So.
You should watch. There's a podcast that's like the English. They're like the English Kath and Kim in it, and it's called Joan and Jericha.
Joan and
And you can get it on all normal podcast things, and it's they're sort of similar characters, kind of, yeah. So I'd highly recommend Joan and Jericha podcast.
Amazing. I'll check it out.
We'll
It's
listen
great.
to it.
Well, question 11. Is this an Australian icon or is she a content creator?
I'd say she's a content creator.
Incorrect. This is Jessica Malboy. She's an Australian singer and songwriter.
I only know the old people, basically.
Yeah. we had to try and trip you up a bit. We thought it would be a little bit more challenging.
You've done really well.
Yeah, I know. Question 12. So, Aussie icon or average Joe?
Average Joe.
Yeah, this is Fiona. So she is one of the RMIT tutors and an advertising legend. Was our tutor last semester.
Yeah, she's cool.
Could love her. And then question 13. Aussie icon or average Joe?
She does look like a reality TV show. He came like number 7 or something. So Aussie icon.
She's sitting in the next room and I can hear her screaming. That's Maddie. She's part of
on
our Hungry
team
Talks
as well.
team.
She's great value.
Yeah, so she's an average Joe. No reality TV star.
Oh, that's great.
That's so good. I love her reaction.
I know, that was hilarious. So number 14, is this an average Joe working in the strategy department or an Australian icon?
Well, I'm going to say Australian icon.
He's actually an average Joe. His name is Luca, and he's a fellow third year in our cohort who featured on episode 3 of the show. So we do love him.
He's doing a little bit of modelling from back in the day.
Yeah.
We dug up in some research for the show.
Yeah, definitely. The next question, are these Australian icons or are they a creative copywriter, art director duo?
I'd say the latter. They are the creative copywriter duo.
Incorrect. These guys are actually Hamish and Andy. They're a really successful comedy duo over here. They started on radio and then made some really successful travel shows before going separate ways, and now they both host their own shows.
One of them has one of the Lego Masters shows. So the one on the left has a Lego Masters show, and then the other one does this show called the 100,
That's really
which is
good.
really funny.
Yeah, they are really funny. They've got a good podcast as well, actually.
All right, question 16. Aussie icons or average shows?
He looks like a kind of sailor or golfer, or like he won Wimbledon in 1905 or something. So,
1905.
yeah, I'd say he is an Australian icon. I don't know who she is. Maybe she's his daughter.
They are Australian icons, definitely not Wimbledon stars. I don't know, maybe they had a bit of tennis background, but these are both ex-Australian Labor Prime Ministers. So we've got Bob Hawke and Julia Gillard. So Julia Gillard was our first female Prime Minister.
I should have known that, sorry.
That's
all right.
okay.
It's good, we wanted to stop that. Question 17. Aussie icon or average Joe working in the ad industry?
It looks very much like an intern sort of person, so I think T. So I'd say average.
Yeah, so this is
Average
Simon. He's again part of our Hungry Talks team. He's doing our Ads Gone Wild segment.
Okay.
And final one.
Final question. Is this an Australian icon or is this an average Joe?
Icon.
He is an icon. Yes, correct. That is Anthony, who played the Blue Wiggle. He's an absolute legend. He's the biggest Aussie icon. I actually saw the Wiggles live just the start of this year. Do you guys have do you guys know who the Wiggles are?
Aren't they children's entertainment?
Yeah.
I was going to say, we're going on about the Wiggles. I don't know who it is.
Yeah, they did an 18+ concert and I went. It was fantastic.
They started off as like a kids kind of thing, but like, because we've all grown up with them, like
Yeah.
now all the 20-year-olds
Yeah.
are really getting around them, so they've
Yeah.
kind of remixed some Australian like songs and stuff by the Chats, which are a really kind of punky band, and it's really funny.
It was so funny. It was the weekend of a festival. All my mates were going to this really good festival, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you're coming?" And I was like, "Sorry guys, I've got tickets for the Wiggles. I'm gonna go see the Wiggles that weekend. Sorry, I can't come."
Anyway,
fun story.
great. That wraps up our game segment and our interview. Joe, thank you so much for your time. Sorry about the technical difficulties at the start, but it was really a pleasure having you on the show, and so lovely.
Yeah, really lovely to meet
Good luck.
you. Thank
for
you.
having me, and yeah, I really appreciate being asked and invited on.
Sorry about all
Thank
the weird
you.
emails. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
Bye.
That was lovely. That was really nice.
That's so
Yeah, what a
good.
cool guy.
Right now we've changed up the order clearly, so we're going to do a bit of a acknowledgement of Hungry Talks, Hungry Babies outfit. Yeah, hope you all noticed.
I hope
the
you've
costume.
noticed it. Yeah. Because he'll be blasting into
Outer
space because we've just taken the show to the next level.
Not really. We've really
Yeah.
kind of taken it down a level. I kind of fucked it up a bit.
That's fine.
That's alright. Anyway, it's actually a dog costume.
Yeah, you know those dog costumes where you put the dog in the front
and
and,
it should, like-
it walks
like
around
that?
and like
Anyway.
a sausage dog.
That's all we could find that fit him. Yeah, anyway, we're going to look at some fan art now. So let's take a look at that. Teresa Dim, stunning stuff.
Yeah, shout out.
Dim is looking very great.
He
in
is.
that.
I love the money
Cash
machine. Yeah, that's really cool. I'm also loving the ones from Amelia's kids. Amelia, I reckon you've got a couple future art directors on your hands.
And next up, we've got a comic from Cooper. Oh no. There we go.
Yeah, nice.
So Cooper is my favourite fan art so far. Everyone's gonna have to stay tuned for next week. I think we're gonna have a new episode of the comic. It was really lovely meeting you the other night, Cooper. A true fan. It was great to be recognised out in the wild. I was quite flattered, but we might have to get some security if people keep approaching us on nights out. You know, it's hard being a public figure now.
I know, it's hard being a celebrity.
Paparazzi shots.
Paparazzi who keep taking
we've got
photos of
our
us.
Fan photos.
We
down
did have a lovely fan photo today, but the paparazzi need to
Paparazzi.
stop harassing us.
Quite invasive.
Paparazzi, if you see this, leave us alone, okay?
Anyway, this week's sponsor, let's take a look. We've got portable DVD player. It was kind of, saving grace for all my holidays. This is actually my one that I grew up on. I got my mum to dig it out of her basement somewhere.
Yeah.
I've watched Grease on that probably at least minimum 25 times. Rip Olivia Newton-John. Yeah.
Yeah, we love her, Sam.
I love that portable DVD.
She's actually got a poster of John Travolta in her room. She gives it a kiss every night.
It's so cute.
But yeah, I reckon we should get Hungry Talks converted into DVDs so everyone can watch them over again when they go on break. I know that's what I'm going to do this summer after I've hopefully graduated, fingers crossed.
We will.
Maybe there's some room for a Hungry Talks drinking game.
Anyway,
Let us know if you'd be interested.
Let's take a look at the ad of the week. Changing up the order.
It's a personal
good.
favourite of mine. Let's have a look at it.
Let's suss it out.
I wish I lived in the golden age, giving it up on the Broadway stage. Hang with the rats and smoke cigars, have a break with Frank and count the stars. Dressed to the nines with hair to match, shiny jewels, casino cash. Tapping feet wanna take the lead, a jet bag and diamonds all I need. Oh, sing it out loud, gonna get back at it. Sing it out loud, get away with me. Sing it out loud, on the jet bag.
Yeah, I remember being shown that one in first year and being asked to count how many times we saw the product shot. Thought that was really clever. I also just really love the vibes, like, you know, walking into a party, just getting along with everyone in like a really cool, like casual way. It's what everyone like aspires to do. It's what I aspire to do.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like, it's not really my favourite ad.
And that's okay. That's valid.
Anna loves it, and she won't shut up about it, so it's here and we're talking about it. The mood is good. I do kind of feel like a party now, and I would definitely go for a beer.
I would definitely go for a beer right now.
So maybe the ad's done its
Meet us
job.
at the Oxford Scholar. We'll sign some autographs for you.
Yeah. Anyway, let's have a look at Amelia's segment. We've got she's chatting with Sally about avoiding mistakes. Kind of fitting right now.
We'll be taking notes.
Anyway, let's have a look at say it,
Sally.
Oh, hi.
Thank God.
Yeah,
Thank
hi.
God, yeah, look.
Hi, good to see you.
Sorry I'm running a bit late.
Oh, that's all right. Thanks for
I've
having me.
had to give my aunt her diabetes medication and give my cat a bath.
Right. Okay.
Here now. Thank you. And now, I know this episode is about making mistakes, but I really can't think of any that I've made.
Really?
No.
I find that hard to believe.
Hello,
Yep.
and welcome to another episode of Between Two Ferns. My name's Amelia Lucky, and with me today is career and folio consultant Sally Brownbill.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
Sally, you talk in the book about upskilling as a way of bettering your career. I went back to university with 3 kids and a mortgage. Is it ever too late?
It's never too late. It's never too late. I think that's what, you know, your career journey is all about. Congratulations. I think that's fantastic. You've got to do things in your life at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when you're straight out of high school, you know, there's other things that you want to be doing. You want to be earning money, or you want to be travelling, or you don't know what to study. And then sometimes you just study something just for the hell of it. Different circumstances in people's lives, you know, occur all the time. And maybe you can't afford to study until you're well into your 30s, or there's all sorts of things. So it is never too late. You are what you are, and you should never apologise for that. It doesn't matter whether you're 25 or 35, or you've studied 3 things, or you've never studied before. At that point in your life where you're wanting to go back to university and you're wanting to get a job, you just go for it. You have a hunger, you have a talent, you have a network that you're building, and off you go. You know, you can be doing lots of different disciplines within one course. There's so many choices. You know, it's like, I went to the supermarket the other day to buy a toothbrush. Have you tried to buy a toothbrush lately? Do you know how many choices there are?
I brush my teeth.
Okay, good. Well, okay. Wasn't going to say anything. Working through what those choices are can take time. And overthinking things and trying to be absolutely perfect about everything is a really big problem, I think, especially for young people now. They're wanting everything to be perfect, and they're wanting to make sure that they know everything before they launch off into a career. And it's not feasible. It's okay. You go and talk to people. If you think, well, am I interested in being an art director, or do I want to be a copywriter? I love both. I'm not really sure. Go and talk to them about what it is. What's a day in the life of, what do you do? You know, how does it work? Last year's cohort, there was a lot of kids that weren't sure whether they wanted to go into account management or being creative. And that's okay, but try something and talk to people. And it's okay to change your mind. Nothing is forever.
What are your strategies to get through mistakes when they invariably happen?
Own them. So many times when you're working on a big, like let's say photographic shoot or a big TV commercial, there's thousands and thousands of dollars. There's people, lots and lots of people. And if you're there thinking, oh, nobody will notice that that's happened, forget it. Just as soon as you see that the light's not working properly, or that the prop's in the wrong spot, or that they have a different jacket on to they did in the last scene, or admit it, just go, right, okay. And I think that's really important about mistakes. It's the degree of what the mistake is. Like, is there anything that really is a mistake if you're creating things?
Well, you know, I try to learn from my mistakes when I do make them, of course. I think we can...
You don't think you make them very often?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
You know.
Good. Lucky you.
It's good. It's a good news story there. Now, look, I'm sorry, Sally. I got to go.
Okay. Well,
Thank you
thanks
so
for
much.
having me. Oh,
Thank you.
Okay.
I'll see you next week.
Thanks. Bye.
Sally said own your mistakes, so that little switch up. But maybe it wasn't. It was just, you know, we're keeping you on your toes. DMs first. Never know what's going to happen next.
I know.
Maybe we'll do I don't know, maybe just
Next episode, we're actually going
no
to speak
Hungry Baby.
backwards the entire time, and you guys are going to have to.
Anna's going to speak Danish.
I'm going to speak Danish the entire episode, and you guys are going to have to use Google Translate. Did you guys know I went to Denmark, by the way? Actually, I went there.
Let's look at some quick brief
Let's
responses.
look at some quick briefs.
So we got sent in a few quick briefs. This is Dims for the Snickers. Great insight here. We've got Cooper's as well. Snicker, I could really go for a Snickers. I know it's not that like 3 p.m. slump. It's that 6:37. I need a Snickers.
But it's really good. I
That's-
like this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, big shout out to Cooper and Dim. Thank you for sending those
them
in.
We've also received some today that we're a little bit late to slide in, but we'll
Yeah,
be showing
next
them
week.
next week. We've got a new quick brief for you that we're going to run through this week. Let's have a look. So.
So yeah, we'll unpack the quick brief. So it's actually a bit of a based on last year's Hungry Talks team. They wrote this one up and they wanted to unite people, and we want to divide them.
We want to divide them. So to play on last year's, they kind of gave us this brief to unite people, and we're using the same brief but flipping it. So we want to divide people, but in a fun way. Obviously, still creating positive hype and increasing sales.
Yeah, so your target here is diehard loyal supporters of brands, and you must find a way to divide them over 2 or more of the brand's products. Obviously nothing to harm the brand's image.
Some examples: classic pineapple on pizza debate. So you could link this into Domino's, do a campaign around that, choose 2 of their products. You could look at shapes, which flavour is best. I personally think, and I just am saying this for everyone, that barbecue is the best shape.
Pizza's the best flavour.
Barbecue is the way to go.
No.
Obviously, a bit of a food thing going on. Maybe, tomato sauce, fridge or pantry. I don't really know how you'd link a second product into that, but, get creative. Find 2 things, you get the point. Find 2 products within one brand and divide people.
Yeah, I actually came up with an idea and Ash just said it was shit, so I'm not going to share that with you guys tonight.
Okay. It was so bad I can't even remember what it was.
Yeah. Anyway, for non-food related content, you could do something like Utes or a 4-wheel drive or something like that. But yeah, finally, like the deliverable is anything you want. So we just want you to get creative, push the boundaries with this brief, let your imagination run wild, as they say.
Whatever, just push it to the limits and come up with the idea, and then find a medium that suits that idea. But yeah, anyway, that's pretty much all we've got for the brief. If you do have any questions though about it, or want some feedback on your ideas for this brief or for any of the briefs, please don't hesitate to reach out to Anna and I. These are our emails. They're always open for you to send in any queries. We were second years not long ago working on the briefs, and we know that your folio assignment is coming up soon, and it would just, it's good to get on top of them early. Also, we really want to showcase your work, and by the time that you're doing them the night before that it's due, Hungry Talks is going to be over. So don't do that.
Couldn't be me. It was
And I did
definitely not me doing that last year and this year as well. Definitely not a hypocrite at all. But yeah, we were in your position last year, so we were scrambling and just like as self-care, just like try and get them done as soon as you can. Otherwise you're going to be up late at night being like, oh my god, no ideas.
Now,
yes.
that's it for the episode, I think.
I reckon that's it.
That's it, we'll let you go. That's our 6th episode. Someone get us a beer. Only a few more to go. Hang in there. We're also just hanging in there, as you can tell.
Our sanity is just slipping. I think it's quite funny. I'd imagine for you guys to just watch us deteriorate
We'll make a highlight reel. Anyway, that's all.
Anyway, quick reminder, send them in.
Just do all that stuff, and we'll see you next week.
You've heard it all. Just send me stuff.
Send us Hungry Baby. Oh yeah, Hungry Baby wants more fan art. He got one that was really great, but that's not enough. Someone send it in.
Yeah, I also just want to reinforce that you guys can DM us, talk to us, email us. We want to be able to have this dialogue with you. So, yeah.
That's fine. Charlie, you're still our favourite second year, but we haven't received any fan art for a while. So...
Amber's up there too, actually.
Oh yeah, Amber's going well.
I don't
She
Is
said
Amber
yeah.
in, I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. Amber, love your work.
Yeah, so we're not ruling out that Charlie could be knocked from top spot. So someone send in fan art and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.